Did you know that Simba had two children, but we were only shown his daughter Kiara? You are on the Disney Theories channel. Here, we develop various mysterious theories and analyze alternative versions of the cartoon. Before we understand why Kiona's son Simba was cut out of the plot, I suggest you remember the cartoon The Lion King 2. After the events of the first part, Simba becomes king of Pride Lands, and he is born a daughter, Kiara, heir to the throne. Unlike Simba, she is not thrilled with her title of princess because it burdens her with responsibility and deprives her of freedom. Everywhere, she is followed by babysitters in the form of Timon and Pumbaa. The girl just cannot stay alone when she wants it so much. In addition, the young curious lioness is forbidden to leave the Pride Lands, meaning she cannot seek adventure and explore something new. And to her, all these restrictions seem like a royal whim. But in fact, there are good reasons for this. When Simba defeated Scar and banished all his lionesses, they didn't go far but camped on the border of the Pride Lands. Simba realized that this was no accident. The lionesses were waiting for an opportunity to take revenge and return. Knowing that such danger was always near, the king began to overprotect his only daughter. But you can't explain that to a child. Of course not. It's much easier to forbid something. But it doesn't help. One day, Ciara goes for a walk, runs away from her nannies, and goes outside the kingdom. She accidentally meets Kovu, and the young lion cubs immediately find a common language. Later, it turns out that Kovu is not just a lion cub, but the son of Scar, Simba's worst enemy. Of course, the king cannot allow his daughter to communicate with the offspring of the one who betrayed him and his family. The lion cubs part ways. The next time they meet is when they are both young lions and lionesses. Kovu rescues Kiara from a fire she gets into on her first hunt. Noble agrees. That's how it looks from the outside, but it has a hidden agenda. After the first meeting between Kovu and Kiara, Zira had a brilliant idea. She decided to make Kovu an instrument of revenge. The plan was that Kovu would save Kiara, fall in love with her, and at the expense of this, gain Simba's trust. And then, when there was no sign of trouble, attack the king and destroy him. So Kova could become the new king, Zira, and the other lionesses could return to the Pride Lands, and Scar's lover would be avenged. About 2 or 3 years have passed since Kovu and Kiara last met. And just imagine when Zira raised Kovu to hate Simba and his family. Everything was planned to perfection. So after saving his daughter, the king allowed Kovu to enter the Pride Lands. True, he took it with suspicion. Although Kovu said that he left Zira and her gang, it is not known how it was, in fact. So Zira's plan gradually began to materialize. Kovu and Kiara began to spend more time together, and Simba began to show more trust. Zira would have succeeded, but there was something she did not take into account. Although Kovu was like Scar inside, he was different. His heart was not saturated with anger and hatred. So as he interacted with Kiara, Kovu began questioning his beliefs and mission. The moment Simba showed him a gesture of kindness, the king decided to give up his daughter completely. The king accepted the gesture and was ready to give up his daughter. But as it usually happens at the most inopportune moment, Zira and her lionesses appeared. She revealed to Simba the whole plan and attacked him. Kovu could not stay aside and entered the battle to defend the king. Both survived, but after Simba learned he could no longer trust Kovu, he became a traitor to him. Feeling guilty, Kovu left the Pride Lands and traveled far away to the Shadowlands. The story could have ended there, but Kiara was convinced Kovu was not an enemy. She listened to her father and went in search of him. The lovers were happy to see each other again. But not for long did Kovu want to run away with Kiara and start his own pride. She wanted him to come back and prove his loyalty and innocence. The talk that anyone can run away but only a true hero can return convinced Kovu to ask the king for a second chance. As they made their way home, Zira prepared her lionesses for the decisive battle against Simba. The conflict was in full swing when Kovu and Kiara showed up. They tried to stop their parents and appeal to reason. Their idea was simple. Two prides have no reason to fight. It's pointless because they are all alike. There is a place for all of them in the Pride Lands. Simba began to listen to them, but Zira, blinded by hatred and anger, refused. For her, revenge for Scar was more important than the lives of the others she rushed into battle but was defeated, sharing the fate of her lover. Then Simba recognized his mistake and took the outcasts back, including Kovu. The two prides united, and Kiara and Kovu became symbols of a new era in which old grudges were overcome and enmity was over. If we remember the first part of the cartoon, we are shown the victory of only one side. Simba returns home and frees his lionesses from Scar's tyranny. Still, he also banishes those lionesses who previously lived outside the Pride Lands. Once again, they are left alone, abandoned, and unwanted. And Zira, who was Scar's lover, her hatred of Simba is understandable. But what about the others? Did they also want revenge for Scar? Or maybe they just wanted a better life for themselves and their children. The second part of the cartoon was for that. We're shown that their desire to fight against Simba was driven only by survival. When the king accepted them, they immediately sided with him. No one supported Zira in her desire for revenge. So at the end of the second cartoon, we have not one but two victories. No one was left out, everyone got what they wanted. Outcast lionesses finally found homes, and Simba and his family had peace and quiet. Cartoon creators had to sacrifice Kion's son Simba to finish the story so beautifully. Just imagine how much more complicated it would be if Simba had two children. Which of them would claim the throne? Would not Kiara? I think not. Kion would be the first claimant to the throne because, according to the laws of power, power always goes to the son. That raises a lot of questions. How would Kion view the outcasts? Would he support Ciara, or would he side with his father? And if he sided with his father, would Kiara and Kovu's love story help change the family's relationship? I think you see where I'm going with this storyline. It would be easier to make a TV series than to put it all into one cartoon. But that's not the only reason they didn't add Kion to the story. There's another more interesting one. We've all been led to believe that Kovu is Scar's own son. But what if I told you that's not true? We don't know much about the events during Scar's reign over the Pride Lands. The first installment of The Lion King only showed that he ruined everything, so I turned to the Taka alternative theory from the 2013 comic book. It's basically the same story from the first cartoon, but told on behalf of Scar. According to it, Kovu was not his native son, but only a successor to the throne. If you want to know the full version of these events, write about it in the comments. I will shoot a separate video. There are many details that otherwise reveal the story. For example, Scar was married to another man before Zira, or that Simba's father, Mufasa, had a mistress from whom Scar was born his second son. In general, there are a lot of funny things. Write if you want to know. And now back to the story of Kovu. When Zira and Scar ruled the Pride Lands, Scar had two children. His firstborn was a boy named Nuka, and his second was a daughter named Vitani. And according to all the laws, Nuka should have inherited the title of king. But from birth, he was frail, clumsy, and very sickly looking. Zira knew that if anything happened, he would be quickly overthrown. They needed someone to protect them. One night, Zira noticed one of the lionesses walking away. She decided to follow her and caught her trying to get rid of a newborn lion cub. It turned out that on the borders of the earth, this lioness was dating another lion. She got pregnant by him, and then he left her. There wasn't enough food for everyone in their pride, and a new mouth in the form of this lion cub would cause even more trouble. But Zira saw a chance in this lion cub, asked for him to be given to her, and brought him home as her own son. She told Scar her plan, and he supported her. The idea was to raise this lion cub as a future husband for Vitani, their daughter. That way a daughter with a strong and worthy husband would take the throne instead of their weak son. Everything would have worked out if Simba had not returned and banished them back beyond the borders of the Pride Lands. But even there, as you remember, Zira was not confused. She realized that Kovu could be married not to his daughter, but to Simba's daughter. But her plan did not work just because Kovu was not a native son for her or Scar. This is well illustrated by the moment Kovu refuses to take revenge on Zira and sides with Simba. The native son of Scar and Zira, frail and sickly Nuka, goes to the end and sacrifices himself for the idea of his mother. Thus, the final story is revealed in a different way. We are shown not overcoming old grudges, and Kovu serves as a prototype of Scar. And through him, we're shown how bad eventually becomes good. It's that everyone gets what they deserve. Zira and Nuka were weak, and they were angry at the world. They were driven by hatred and jealousy. And we all know where that got them. They all ended up dead. But Kovu was driven by love. Yes, he was wrong and on the side of evil, but in the end he could recognize and correct his mistakes. He was not only allowed to return to the Pride Lands, but he also led them and became their new king. Kovu is a lion without royal blood, an orphan, and an outcast. The delivery of this sense that we are defined by our actions was the key event for which they did not add Kion to the story. Kovu just had to become king, but if Kion was also in the cartoon, what are the odds of that happening? There are probably none because Kovu did not initially aspire to it. Yes, it was in Zira's plan, but not in his inner desires. It would have ended with Kiara and Kawu just running away. There would have been no pride unification. Kion would have taken the throne and found a local lioness, and all would have been as before. Kion's pride would live in fear of being attacked by the outcasts, and the outcasts would hatch a plan. The whole second part wouldn't make sense, except that Kion could fall in love with Vitani, Zira's daughter. But then the whole plot would again revolve around the lion and not the lioness, and the creators clearly wanted to add novelty to the plot. To summarize, I want to say that the second part was quite organic and had a well-deserved happy ending. And here is how it would be if Kion still appeared. We will get back to you very soon. After Disney released the movie Mufasa, The Lion King, attentive viewers noticed that Simba first went to Nala. She, in turn, is pregnant, but since the movie already has Kiara, they expect a second heir. And I'm more than sure that it's Kion. That's all I've got. Write in the comments how you like this theory about Kion. Your options will also be interesting to read. Please ask more questions so I can understand what topics you are most interested in. I will then release videos as soon as possible. Thank you and bye.